So friends, the question is, do you still own anything? You recently bought a truck, you've got a new refrigerator, you've got a 2-year-old washing machine in your house, you've got a new tractor sitting in your barn. So why are we having a hard time fixing them when they break down? For a very, very long time, generations actually, ownership meant freedom. Today, ownership might not be ownership anymore. We're going to talk about how companies gain control over products that we thought we owned, and how this can adversely affect homesteaders and farmers. We're going to talk about the growing fight to take control back and the little things people are starting to do. Let's talk about it. You know, this trend is really going to start harming homesteaders and farmers just because of the amount of equipment that we buy to have out on our properties and help us manage the farm. But it is most certainly going to affect everyone though. In today's world, replacing a battery may require factory software in many cars. A washing machine with one failed circuit board can become a fixture in a landfill very quickly. And a simple sensor can disable a $70,000 plus pickup truck. I didn't pay that for this because I always buy used. Friends, there was a time when buying something meant that it was yours. You owned it. If your truck broke, you could repair it. If your refrigerator stopped cooling, you could call an independent repairman. If your tractor stopped working, just grab your tools. Manufacturers built products that could be repaired for decades. User manuals were available, parts were available, independent mechanics competed with dealerships. Ownership wasn't complicated, but somewhere along the way, that changed. And it's partially because today's products aren't just mechanical, they're mostly digital. And software now controls everything from your truck to your tractor to your dishwasher to even your chainsaw. And that development gave control to companies that they never had before. And that control is control after the sale. Let's talk about vehicles. Modern vehicles contain dozens, if not hundreds, of computer control modules. They're electronic control systems. And these computers constantly and continuously communicate with outside entities and companies. And more often than not, when these vehicles need to be worked on, the vehicle itself might refuse to recognize it. And that's not because the part is actually broken, but it hasn't been electronically approved, meaning it hasn't communicated back with the manufacturer or even the dealer to get approval to change it out. That approval often requires proprietary software only available to those dealers. In other words, and I don't think this is a stretch, you might physically own the truck or whatever else, but someone else can control whether it works or not. That's scary, friends. Right now, I have a P3449 code in this 2019 Ram. That's a cylinder 7 intake control circuit. Now that can be due to a bad wiring harness, which is often the cause on the top of the engine. But what also is common is a bad ECM, or electronic control module. That's kind of like the brain for the whole truck. And it reads different sensors and controls different solenoids all over the truck and the engine. So it's causing cylinder 7 to not work. And that can cause a misfire, which it is misfiring, and that can damage your engine just because of a control module. If that's the case and not the wiring harness, it needs to have a computer to reprogram it. And I can't get access to that computer or the software to do it. In many of my first vehicles, I could get under the hood and work on them, change the timing, do whatever I needed to get it running perfectly again. I can't touch these anymore. And that's not because I can't figure it out and do it myself. It's because I'm not allowed to. Hey, I am all for technological advancements. I like tech. But if a man owns something and can't repair it, does he actually own it? And this is not only affecting owners. In this small town that I live near, Tyler, Texas, I've had several friends quit being mechanics. I have a friend who owns a car repair shop who is struggling. And simply because they cannot get the manufacturer data and software to fix newer cars. So they focus on older vehicles. There's a massive amount of mechanics that you can look up online that are quitting being mechanics because of certain working conditions and what they want them to do to these vehicles. I read recently that there is a shortage of 68,000 car mechanics in the United States right now. You can look up online how many are quitting. The videos are everywhere, and they give their reasons for it. And they're not only quitting from Little Tyler, Texas. I'm from Detroit, Michigan. That's my hometown, the Motor City. They're quitting there too. But it's not just cars, friends. It's everything, even a chainsaw. Years ago, companies used to make things that lasted forever. They wanted the reputation of having good quality. That, I believe, has been completely thrown out the door, especially with car manufacturers. They made things to last decades. They sold the parts to fix them. Somewhere along the line, they decided it was better to produce junk that people would just throw away and they could buy another one. But I believe a company that makes a quality item has a better reputation. People return to them, they buy for years, they tell their friends. Unlike companies that just produce junk so they can just sell another one. Let's talk about these saws for a minute. I've had this Husky for 10 years. It runs perfect. Sometimes I don't use this size chainsaw for at least a year, and it just sits there. But it starts every time. This new one that I bought recently from supposedly a better company won't start. And yes, I know how to start it, and the starting procedures on these new ones are different. This has been used once, and in the shop twice. Did I get a lemon? Maybe. And if you're thinking, well, something like this chainsaw is always going to be mechanical, no. Recently, Stihl added electronics to some of their saws and weed cutters. It's called the M-tronic system, so it is now electronic. And it is not battery powered. These are gas powered. Are they trying to innovate? Maybe, but they're not doing a great job of it. Sadly, you can even read about accounts of medical devices failing and medical mobility products failing. Now things break, I get it, but the amount of them that are failing and leaving people stranded or in life-threatening situations is very serious. So what can we do about it? You know, I want us to refocus, and homesteaders normally do that anyway, but I want us to start acquiring things that we can repair. Older tech that has an ample amount of available parts that we can repair ourselves very easily. Like for instance, this Kawasaki Mule that I bought used recently. This is a 2008. It was running perfect, but something went wrong with it. I was able to easily diagnose it. It was a shorted wire that connects to the fuel pump, so it's not getting any fuel. I haven't done it yet, but it is a simple fix of finding and repairing the wire. And I actually decided to replace the fuel pump also, which I easily found on Amazon for a good price. But if I was to try to repair something like this, I can't. Not authorized to, and I have to take it, transport it to an authorized dealer. Now, if a mechanical suspension part broke, I could probably do that myself. But nothing else on this I would be able to do. You know, I've done dozens of repair videos on this channel, but recently, maybe over the last year, 2 years, viewership on those videos has really slowed down. Partially, I think, because some of those items I showed how to repair are becoming scarce. Or people are being lulled into just buying junk and then tossing it in the garbage when it breaks and buying a new one. Honestly, as a side note, I don't know how people can afford in today's economy to keep buying things over and over and over again as they break. I know initial investment in a better quality item up front is hard for a lot of people to do, but over time you save money doing that. Okay friends, I'm starting to rant a little bit, so let's bring this back. Let's disconnect ourselves from higher tech and substitute that for lower tech. Let's scour Facebook Marketplace or flea markets, or even find lower tech that's brand new. Let's save up and find a 1996 or 97 Dodge Ram, which had a bulletproof engine and transmission and zero electronics. You could go back to 1987 or 88, I think it was, and get an F-250. Items that were mechanical and they didn't use electronics. Although those older electronics are readily available and you can fix like the EFI in Fords from like the early 90s pretty easily. Instead of just having this, also get one of these. Because you never know when a tree's going to fall across your driveway, you need to drive somebody to the hospital and your seal won't start. Just bust this out. And this might seem like a funny conversation because I do make a lot of solar videos. I love that technology and I think it works well. I'm not naive that it could break down tomorrow. And if I could go micro hydro or wind and connect that to an electromagnetic induction generator, I would. But I can't because I don't live in a windy area and I don't have a stream. And look, we need to be realistic though. We probably can't do that with all of our equipment. But in terms of things like batteries for solar systems, you can buy parts and build them yourself. And if your BMS goes bad in your battery, then you can certainly find another one online pretty easily. So I'm thankful that that still exists. But with my Ram, I probably can't do that, and newer cars, you certainly can't do that. Friends, in this video, I'm really not going to get into the continued march of companies that are trying to shut down the consumer's ability to repair. You know, with some of those cases and some of those companies, it might honestly be innocent innovation, which I think we need, so don't get me wrong. But most certainly, a lot of it is simple, evil greed. You know what I mean. We've all known about planned obsolescence for a long time now. But even on top of that planned obsolescence, the ability to not legally be able to repair your own equipment, like what happened with John Deere tractors and farmers, that is pure evil. And there are a lot of lawsuits out there about the right to repair. And you and I have won a lot of those. And that's great, but I'm not sure it's really going to help a lot in the long term. You know, I've talked about primitive equipment versus modern equipment on this channel before. If you have that chainsaw, get that handsaw as a backup. If you've got a lawnmower, get a scythe as a backup. Or goats if you want, but they're kind of a pain in the rear end. Maybe sheep. If you've got a 2019 Ram like I do, or newer, maybe look into getting also an 88 F250. Something you can work on, find parts for. Find old farm equipment where you can. If you want to pull those with your horses, more power to you. But I had a friend here in Texas try to find those things, and he couldn't, because the only thing we tend to grow here is cows. He's having to look in Iowa, Kansas, Nebraska, but there isn't too much of the old equipment still around. So friends, this is not about a tractor, a car, a washing machine. This is about the future of ownership and what that actually means. Having to buy a subscription for your new vehicle to be able to use certain features is not ownership. So will buying new things still mean ownership? Let me know in the comments section below what you think. Now check out this video right here, which is how to repair something very simple that most people throw away. Have a beautiful, blessed day. See you next time. Bye.